What's up? What's up? Let me put this fan off real quick. But just to finish where I was left off was we remember the last thing. Well, they say we remember the last time we remember that memory, and it makes sense because like every time you think of something, you kind of feel like you changed up something, or you're not sure that was originally how it happened, but you like I'm somewhere in the ballpark, and it goes to that, and I was ending off with saying like if you keep the same emotions towards these things that happened to you in the past and you never elevated, then pretty much you choose to stay stagnant from if it, especially if it was something that was traumatizing or something that heartbreaking or just disappointment or anger that you never really dealt with but you chose to ignore. And every time it's reminded of it or you reminded of it, it comes back up and usually in what do you call it, outburst or some shit like that. Hood Mystical just talking about it's like when you get out of a relationship and you jump to another one, it's like you're not really done with your feelings because if you run into that dude like a couple months later or a year later, you're gonna have feelings that you're not gonna really know how to deal with them or process them, and it makes sense and I understand that because it's just you really haven't transmuted your energy. You just try to ignore it because you really don't know what to deal with. Like you don't know how to deal with it, and that ended up happening to most of us with a lot of things. And this girl was just saying we live multiple lifetimes in one life, and say if you choose not to stay stagnant, say if you choose to always elevate your past selves and you choose to just constantly always, even if something bad happened to you, you always choose to, I guess, look at it half full, but choose to just transmute and do whatever you can to make you feel better about yourself and move and create a passion or whatever. Like it's many things you can do with it, but um, what I was saying. Oh, if you choose to stay stagnant, like, and you stop doing that, then you start to live in that world, and you don't keep moving on from more and more lessons. And then somebody else was just saying, you keep going through the same shit because you haven't passed the last test, and that goes into that same thing. Like you was transcending many worlds. You was getting past many worlds through different ages, and well, from like when you was 5 to you got to teenager to when you're in your 20s, like you've been going through different worlds. Sometimes you went through shit faster. Sometimes shit took you a little longer and you had to drag it out. But yeah, we choose to stay in certain worlds, and that's why shit don't end up changing. Like if you see an 80-year-old person with her problems or their problems, and say that they're bitter or whatever, they're usually some problems that came from when they was like in their 30s or 40s, and they kept that energy all the way to they were 80 and never transmuted that. So even if you like mention like look at life. They end up transmuting their energy at the end, but every time they mention Ray or every time they mention the other dude's name, they always had a bitter attitude towards them, and you know that just goes to everything. Like somebody might die, you might still have that energy towards them, and it's pointless. Like they're gone. Like there's literally nothing you can do to change that shit besides changing yourself. And it all goes into it. Like you can keep moving past shit, or you can choose to stay stuck in that shit. And the biggest thing is with trauma. Like if you were like raped, because I remember a girl telling me this a while ago, and I understood it completely. But it's still, like I say, sometimes it takes more information and more other experiences for me to process it and put everything together. But she was saying that if you were raped, you have to go back, and I don't think she necessarily said forgive, but take your power back from that situation, even if you have to say that it didn't even happen. And that goes to, like I said, we be forgetting shit by the time we're 80 or by the time I'm 20. I'm 23 now, and I'm already forgetting shit in elementary. So if I had some trauma in elementary or shit, any trauma period, I can already forget, like start forgetting about it in a sense. And sometimes I wouldn't say forgetting about it is the best way to do it, but everybody has their own methods, and everybody has to go through their own things. And whatever you'll figure it out throughout the long run, as long as you're trying to work on it, as long as you choosing not to stay stagnant. But yeah, there's many different ways to go about it. I wouldn't necessarily say forget it because I don't think we should forget anything because you can easily go back to it. That's my biggest thing. So I think you should transmute shit. Yeah, you should do as much releasing as you can. If it's too much to bear, of course, let detach from it completely. It's no human shit we should hold on to at all. By the time we're ready to transcend. So honestly, I understand that completely. But while we're still here, we can use those energies and those passions to help us transcend faster. That's my biggest thing. And like I said, that's talking about using hate and other shit. Like there's a season for everything. I just talked about that. And yeah, what she was saying though, you just go back and you change what happened, and the butterfly effect is the great movie to go watch if you want to get into that concept where he goes back and he changes literally what happens in there. He was like, no, you're not going to do this. You're not going to take this from me. And that's what happens. And literally, bro, since time is not really real, bro, since you're doing that in your mind, you're doing it in that reality too. And it's crazy as it fucking sounds, bro. Like, you could have just been dreaming that experience. And now you can go back and change that dream. That's how you have to think of it. Don't look at that trauma as so real, because you can, like, some people forget their trauma, so it's gone. Some people choose to live in it, some people choose to change it, and there's many ways you can go about it, bro. And it's really powerful when you really start to because you're taking your power back. Because they literally, it's not that they took it from you, but in the same sense they took it from you. It's still there, but they blocked their light off with this experience, and it's so hard for you to connect to it or reach out for it again. And if it's like you might not want to be sexual anymore, and that's a way you can express yourself and let it and release. Because I'm just talking different, and them, like, sex is a releasing agent if you're doing it the right way and with the right people. And, you might not be able to release like that if you was, traumatized or whatever. You might not want to open up to your mate or something like that. And it's sad, but you have to reclaim your power back, take that shit back. And it's not even sad, but it's challenging. But you have to do it because it's only for your benefit. Only, like, at the end of the day, it's not, maybe, I wouldn't say that these people out here thinking about how they took your power from you. Maybe they are that sick-minded, and maybe they still never will change. But in that same aspect, you got to take your shit back. Even if they do think like that, you can't give them that benefit of the doubt that you still are affected by them. You have to move on. That's the same thing from, like, relationships, parents, anything. Like, a parent will keep downplaying your achievements and shit, so you'll keep coming to them to seek approval because they know, like, it depends on what kind of parents you got. Every parent's not like that, of course, but you do have those parents that's like that. They'll rather you take care of them and not branch off and do your own shit because they really don't have nothing in a sense besides you. But there's a movie just talked about that. It was a movie, Cop Blockers. That movie was just talking about it with the mom, and the single mom couldn't let go, and she was holding on to her, and she was scared because she felt like she was gonna lose her girl or whatever. And that's a real thing, but still, like, I'm not really off topic, but this also going to, like, when I say you go back and change your memories, like, so say the first time you ever got traumatized, that brought this big ass cloud of anxiety, doubt, fear, whatever. There's so many things that you can that whatever that trauma brings to you, that it's like a Pokemon. And I know it's gonna sound childish right now, but in the same aspect, the first time you ate ice cream, you got joy. It's like a Pokeball. Now you're like, damn, can I ever eat better ice cream than that? Or can I, so now you're trying to evolve that taste bud. And then, I mean, that's some human shit, but let's just get into, the trauma and things too. Like, the first time you have grief, the first time you have a heartbreak, the first time you have whatever, you can choose to keep it at the level 1 Pokemon, or you can choose to evolve it all the way through, and it become this whole different manifestation that you maybe never thought it could be. For instance, I know this is, like I said, it's some human shit, but Amber Rose created the slut walk, and most people, I'm people call it spiritual hate, and I'm not gonna spiritual hate on her. She created a movement, people following her, doo-wop, whatever. That's her light. That's what she chooses to shine. But she did transform that slut into a certain light where other people are willing to come out of the closet of their slutness. And in that same aspect, you can do that with many other things. And I know I just compared kind of like, I'm not comparing it, but I just was talking about rape and then going into slut. So it's feminist coming at me in my head type shit. But what I'm about to say, pretty much you have to evolve whatever trauma it is, because, I mean, some girls might have trauma for becoming called a slut. Now it's empowering. Now she a boss or whatever you want to call it. And I get that, but you got to understand it's deeper shit. But like I said, I don't want to get off topic. And that same shit where if you're raped, there's people that have rape organizations that help many other women, and just how you felt, and at one point you felt unempowered. Now you're saving millions of women from not ever having to feel that or go through that pain alone. So now you changing that bad occurrence to actually helping other people and, helping them get through their shit. And That just mean it's many ways you can transform your grief or whatever. Like some people become rappers, some people become singers, some people become sex addicts like R. Kelly. Like R. Kelly has literally changed. He was raped, so now you have to start looking at R. Kelly with a different lens and see that where his pokeballs at. And he always talk about sex, and he deals with young women, and he probably was abused at a young age. So now you start to see how he never evolved, and he's still been growing in that same way, and he's pretty much stagnant in that same lane. And still to the day he's admitting it. Like, nigga, you don't need to admit it. We already know it. But that just goes to show where he gonna be an 80-year-old, 90-year-old man trying to get probably 15, 16-year-olds, if he don't ever grow out of that shit. Like, he's literally still stuck in his 15-year-old way. Because that's whatever way he probably got traumatized right around that, maybe a little younger than that, and he's stuck in that age group and can't get out of that mentality. And every time that thought come to him, it literally resurfaces, and he keeps staying in that mentality in that world. So he hasn't lived many lifetimes. He's literally stuck in the same lifetime, and he ain't made money off their trauma and shit. But it just go to show you, like, a lot of our celebrities and shit not as happy and things. Oh, of course they're not. I mean, I can tell you that they're making money off darkness. But we follow it, and I talked about it to my homeboys. We follow that darkness because it's something we can resonate with. I might have said it on the last video too. I'm not sure. I talk so much these days. But yeah, man, just like you can evolve happiness into love, into other things, like whatever. There's many things you can evolve these things into, and you can look at it as in Pokemon. It's like at first, when you first get it, you're like, damn, this whole not trained, these emotions not trained, I can't deal with it, I don't know what to deal with. It's like getting a Pokemon. Pikachu, electric, you probably got shocked by the nigga a couple times before Ash can really figure him out. And then once he did, they became the best buddies. He walked side by side with it. Think about it like that. Like, bro, you can walk side by side with your weaknesses. The things that you never thought you can overcome could become your strengths. And that's a part of being an alchemist or whatever. And I talk about that in many other things too, but that's literally what you're trying to do. Like the things literally, you got strengths, and there's only a few things that's holding us back because we'll be crazy or dead by now or lost in another world. Like, literally. Because we talk about evolving ourselves constantly. And if you're not really truly sticking to that, you're going to stay stagnant. And what am I trying to say? What do I want to end it with, I guess? Because I think that was the end of my notes. Yeah, I mean, I think I explained the Pokemon well. And if you even look at the Pokemon, they all aspects of magic or electricity or some type of element. And just like emotions and energies, that's all the same thing, bro, honestly. And the more they evolve, the more they shape and look different manifestations, and they become stronger. Like, it's literally the same thing. And there's many other aspects they use there where you involve in yourself. And even with inside me, like the people that grew up, like first they were little kids, teenagers, nerds, little kids. I mean, I'm getting tongue twisted and saying the same shit. They had little nerd versions of the kids or whatever, and that same aspect grew up to be an adult version. And it's the same thing. You have to evolve yourself. And if you let the trauma and shit stay like that, you're going to have a little kid in your head, and you're going to stay childish in a sense, which is not bad, but there's certain, aspects to that where it can keep you stagnant. And like I said, there's perspectives, and there's many levels to this shit. So, and everybody has different ways. Like, somebody even was on my Twitter not Twitter, but the comments was just saying, I choose to, I don't want to hold a grudge and things like that. And I mean, I'm not necessarily saying hold a grudge. You don't have to even think about the people that it happened to you, but you just claiming your power back and remembering, the things that you don't want to be anymore. You don't want to ever be able to go into enslavement. You don't ever want to be broken again. It's not necessarily holding a grudge towards the people that done it to you, because at the end of the day, you allowed it to happen. Your ancestors allowed it to happen because they were weak and they weren't strong enough. So the grudge, if anything, is on yourself. And like I said, I'm not even doing that because I know that's a part of prophecy and we were broken. And that's just understanding the greater picture. So I can hold on to a lot of shit longer because I know that it's okay. And even when you look in the Bible, it says keep your wrath, but do not sin, in a sense, and something like that. I know I'm not saying it right, but in that same idea, you keep your anger, but don't let your anger overcome you. You still control it. You can let it manifest and all that, but as long as you guide it and creating it to the certain passions and things like that, it's fine. But once you let it overcome you, then that's when you become Satan, in a sense. And that's really why I say I can keep anger and these things, because the only thing it really is myself. Like, bro, if somebody made me angry, it's because I allowed it to happen. So I choose to have a holistic view on myself and not really even give people that much power to just even say you made me mad or you aggravated me. No, I allow myself to be aggravated. So that's how I kind of look at life now. But it's a process. It's some steps that people have to take, and it's not easy. Anger is not easy to work with. Depression and all that shit not easy to work with. But you got to do it if you really want to get out this world. But I'm out. Deuces.